So we have been actively coordinating those. When we first started out with the project, the main goal was to put a roundabout at 4th Avenue and Main Street. This particular roundabout, or this particular intersection, is currently a signalized intersection with push-button pedestrian crosswalks. It is one intersection that we do have some maintenance issues from time to time with those detectors and push buttons working correctly. So it seems like just about every time that we get a signal working 100%, it snows or rains or gets a little bit windy and then it starts acting up again. So that is one of the beauties of the roundabouts, is they're a lot less maintenance from a technical standpoint to keep them running. The main reasons for installing the roundabouts is the main reason is safety from our proven track record on safety with roundabout installations. We recently completed a study with the Insurance Institute of Highway Safety, and of that study came that injury crashes were 40% lower in roundabouts than what could be expected at traditional intersections. So that's one of the main reasons. There's a lot more to that study and it's available online, but the main goal is that, the main outcome really is that a single lane roundabout is pretty much the safest intersection treatment you can have from an accident crash perspective. So now, this intersection is a lot different than other roundabouts within the city, in being that the high school is on the north side, the library on the south side. There's a lot of pedestrian activity happening between the two. So our other goal of the project is mobility, and that mobility, the safety side, not only cars, vehicles, pedestrians, and bikes, but then the mobility of being able to get vehicles through the intersection, but then also pedestrians. We need to safely get pedestrians across. So our number one kind of design feature of the roundabout going into the project was that we were planning for this to be a single lane roundabout with raised pedestrian crossings. So the raised pedestrian crossings we recently installed along Range Line Road, at Range Line in City Center, Range Line in Elm, Walnut, and Carmel Drive. So with those raised crosswalks, we get the added benefit of slowing vehicles down. Anecdotally, as I've driven through multiple roundabouts within the city, that's a 5 to 7 mile an hour difference. So that's a very big difference when you're talking about vehicles and pedestrians. And kind of the story that I used to have when I would go from City Hall down to either walking across to Kroger for lunch or taking my vehicle in for service further south on Range Line Road, is when Carmel Drive and Range Line Road was a signal with push button pedestrian crossings. I had about a 99.5% hit rate of having to jog across the intersection even when I had the crosswalk. So since we've installed the roundabouts, I haven't had that. And I'll purposely go out and walk them during key times, lunch hour. Lunch hour is actually one of the peak travel times on Range Line. So that's what we're really trying to foster and promote, is safety amongst all users. And this slide here is probably a little bit hard to read, but this slide kind of depicts what happens to a pedestrian at different speeds. This is from ITE, which is a transportation engineers group that we're a part of, but at 20 miles an hour, 30 miles an hour, 40 miles an hour, and basically the blue pedestrians are pedestrians that are safe from an encounter with the vehicle. You can see there's a lot more red pedestrians the higher you get. So as we look at all our intersections, this is one of the main reasons why we promote roundabouts roundabouts as well, and that when you have a signalized intersection, as we do in front of the high school today, there's nothing design-wise, geometry-wise, keeping a car going from that intersection at 70 miles an hour. The only thing that's keeping them from doing that is another vehicle in front of them. At a roundabout, that's different because we've purposely designed the roadway to slow vehicles down. This is kind of one of the main pedestrian injury and fatality reasons why we construct roundabouts. There it is. So, as I said, when we first started the project, we had one roundabout at 4th and Main. As we started discussing more, the existing pavement in front of the high school is very, very wide, much wider than what a normal 2-lane road would be. So we went out one day and measured the road and determined that there's a lot of extra space here, and we can narrow the lanes down to 10-foot travel lanes and be able to incorporate a median. So, and with that median, we can landscape the median. The other thing it allows us to do is add some mid-block crosswalks. And then in further discussions, something that we always kind of wanted to do, but we're a little bit unsure of, was the roundabout at Lexington, which 4th and Main is on the left side of the screen, and Lexington roundabout is on the right side of the screen. So as we started developing the project more, we said, okay, this is actually an exhibit that's probably about, the concept's about 20 years old, but we brought it back out. So then we'll work with constructing the roundabout at 4th and Main, connecting the two roundabouts with the median. So one of the main things that we've done in other parts of the city of Carmel is a lot of access management. A lot of access management, cutting down on left turns is what really helps promote our safety numbers within the city as well. And so, I'll go to the next slide here, we can kind of zoom in. The roundabout, for the most part, is a single lane roundabout. There are a couple right turn lanes that are really dedicated to getting into and out of the high school. So that'll help promote vehicular traffic out of the high school. Through a lot of different discussions we've had amongst city officials, school officials, library officials, was the key positioning of several of these mid-block crosswalks. So here, you can see directly coming out of the high school, we've placed a mid-block crosswalk that's on the right-hand side of the screen there. And that will pretty much have a direct line for students getting from the high school over to the library. Students can still utilize the roundabout. There'll be raised crosswalks at the roundabout, but we were trying to, a lot of times pedestrians will take the least path of resistance. So you see this a lot on college campuses where you kind of don't really build sidewalks until you find out where the paths are, then you can put sidewalks in. So we're trying to preemptively do that. Place the mid-block crosswalk there. And we'll also, the library improvements aren't on here, but our project will tie in to all the library improvements because they'll have a nice promenade there on the corner. And then we'll pick up the sidewalk, and we're also, from a mobility standpoint, we want to widen the pedestrian sidewalk on the south side of Main Street throughout the entire project. As we shift to the east to the Lexington Boulevard roundabout, again, this is an additional mid-block crosswalk that we will install to best fit with how pedestrian traffic flows from the high school across the street. And then again, we'll have raised crosswalks at Lexington, so this is, for the most part, a single lane roundabout. The best thing about this that we see is currently when we've taken traffic counts on Main Street, even though this is a school zone, our 85th percentile speed is 33 miles an hour. So it's significantly higher than what you'd really want to see in the school zone. So that's taking into all hours of the day, but that really goes to show that we need to do some other key design features. We think through the design, through the landscape median, through the narrowing lanes, we can slow speeds down into the 25 miles per So if anyone's been on North Rangeline Road, where we just completed construction last several years, this is an example of what we call our rapid flashing beacon technology. We've implemented these at mid-block crosswalks on other areas along Rangeline Road. We have them out on Spring Mill Road. We also have the rapid flashing beacons at Main and Hazeldale and at 116th in town at those roundabouts. And then we've recently, as part of working with the schools on the new transportation plan, we've added several of these rapid flashing beacons at some key crosswalks getting to the schools. While I show this picture, this is what we have planned for the mid-block crosswalks on Main Street. We're also planning to put them at the roundabouts. So what the rapid flashing beacon does is allow a pedestrian to hit the push button, then it brings attention that there is a pedestrian at the crosswalk. So here again is the overall picture. Again, roundabouts bookending the project with pedestrian or mid-block crosswalks in the middle. Again, a new landscape median. We'll have some enhanced lighting at the crosswalk so pedestrians will be lit, especially this time of year where it seems to be always dark whenever you're going to or coming from somewhere. So I think probably the one question that would be asked would be, when would this be under construction? So we would anticipate going to construction this summer while school's out. Our main focus will be the 4th and Main roundabout and a large portion of the median that would encompass the mid-block crosswalks. Also, the goal is to get the Lexington and Main Street roundabout constructed as well. We're still a little bit unsure of that just because of some utilities. If that is not constructed this fall with the 4th and Main roundabout, that will be constructed next summer. But the goal is to focus construction when school is not in session, is to not disrupt the already kind of, there's a lot of people coming and going to the school, so that's something we want to do. But I'd be open to any questions on this.
Thank you, Mr. Kashman, for working with our administration and sharing with our board and our community. Before I open it up for questions, is there anything from our administration you'd like to add?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you. We've got Kermit McDaniel over there, Toby Steele, high school administration, that we're in that active group and working with the city. Also, we've got Todd Beneglio, I think I saw him earlier too. He's our facilities director, and of course Roger McMichael. Dave Woodward, who covers safety for the district, was also heavily involved. And then of course, Jeremy, we appreciate you, Josh Purse, Lieutenant Miller, Sergeant Chef, and Jeff Worrell. It was a really good, productive meeting, and I'm real thankful that we work with the city so closely, and that our input can be taken and applied to different projects like this. We are excited that we'll be slowing down that traffic in front of the high school. The high school saw some advantages to having established those 2 walkways in the middle to try to funnel the majority of our kids that want to cross the street to go across those 2 areas rather than go through the parking lot. So some good advantages to that. The raised crosswalks, we're really excited about because that's going to slow folks down even more. So it's just been another good situation where the city and the schools work together to benefit our kids and our community. So I really appreciate all the work that's been done. And I know we just hit you with a lot of information, so I'll stop talking. You can ask questions, and we'll go from there.
Thank you, Dr. Beresford. Questions? Ms. Manberg?
Thank you. A few questions. My first question is fairly significant. If we are not going to be able to build the Lexington roundabout, how are we slowing down traffic coming westbound in front of the high school when we have those 2 crosswalks right there with our children crossing?
It's a good question. I mean, the main thing that will slow people down coming in is the narrowing of the lanes. So even what the goal would probably be is we would split the project in half. So one of the mid-block crosswalks would be installed, the other one would be as it currently is today. But we can add some additional striping if we need to add some bollards as we work through our maintenance and traffic plan. We can do that as well to slow people down coming into
Okay, and at what point will you know that Lexington will not be a go come May 26th when you're anticipating on starting? Which I'm assuming that's the day you're hoping to start, since that's the day
Yeah.
kids are done with school?
It would be shortly after school's out. We're gonna take the project out to bid in March. So I
Okay.
anticipate by mid-March, we should have a better understanding of
Okay.
how those utilities, there's some utilities if you drive out there, you can see them on the corner.
Yes.
So we're just waiting for some response back.
So when you say you're going to begin some of the narrowing of 100 Main Street, so you will go halfway through? You will go a majority of the way? How much will it be narrowed for what length?
We could narrow the lanes basically through striping right away once
Oh,
we start
okay.
construction.
Okay, now, I'm having a tough time understanding on the south side of Main Street, what is that going on? Are those parking places? Is that a drop-off zone? What do I see on the road? It looks like 2 lanes.
I split. So that is a right turn lane. So one of the other things that we're doing as a economic benefit to the project is to leave the curb lines, the exterior curb lines where they are. So as we construct the project, we can still leave the right turn lanes there to the 2 properties to the south.
Okay.
So by leaving the curb lines in place, then we don't have to rework all the underground storm sewer in the area, which then usually I know that for a fact there's gas line and fiber optic line running over that.
Okay. And I believe my last question, when you were noting that it's a safety statistic right at the beginning with the decrease, when having roundabouts, we have a 40% reduction in accidents or 40% reduction, what was that statistic? And what I want to know more specifically, is that based on pedestrian or is that based on vehicular traffic?
That is based on the vehicular traffic. So there was a study that was performed by the Insurance Institute of Highway Safety, took a look at intersections that were roundabouts, intersections were not roundabouts, and compared the safety statistics even before and after construction. So, and really what that was doing was following up on a previous study that was done that showed there was a 70% reduction in accidents, 40% reduction in accidents with injury, and 40% reduction in accidents, 70% reduction in accidents with injury, and a huge drop in fatalities. So there hasn't been a holistic pedestrian study done nationally. As we look at our statistics here locally, there are not that many pedestrian incidences throughout the city. I think there's less than a dozen a year, I think, when we look at it. So, because we really followed that up when we were redesigning Rangeline Road, because we really focused on that, okay, what can we do to make sure that the crosswalks are aligned for bikes and peds? And as we were looking at doing something different, we kind of found a couple different things from really overseas that kind of proved that we were already going down the right path, and that kind of showed in our data.
Okay. On 136th Street, the stadium crosswalk, it's a staggered, or I don't know, it's kind of that. Is there any benefit to doing that along Main Street, and would you consider that?
That's something we haven't considered that yet, but we can consider that. Mainly why we did it on Smoky Row was because of the offset of the crosswalks. It's not really that offset because it tried making it wide too, so we get the most amount of pedestrians through there. So there are certain instances, like I know up on the Midland Trace Trail, they've done that also to try to slow bikes and pets down so that they stop in the median. So that is something we can look into.
Okay, and are those two crosswalks coming from the school, are those raised as well, or only the ones that are raised are going around the roundabouts?
Right now, the only raised crosswalks are the ones at the roundabouts. The two internal are just at grade. And again, most of that right now is for drainage, so we didn't have to completely rework the drainage.
Okay, thank you.
I might also add that we are still going to staff those crosswalks. Like they're staffed right now with crossing guards, and you know, they do a wonderful job, you know, out in front of Carmel High School. So, and then when we get the second crosswalk in, I think the plan was to staff that one as well. So there will be plenty during heavy traffic times, you know, when it starts school and the end of the day, there'll be some help out there.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson?
Yeah, a couple questions. One is, could you share a little bit about what prompted this investigation or this proposal?
One of the main reasons is this is a predominant area that we get a fair amount of speeding concerns, especially as we have vehicles driving fast through the school zone and then down into the arts and design district. So, and then also just the ability to move traffic through here, and redesign the roadway to have a traffic calming effect as well.
Okay, and then how will this impact drop-off and pickups?
So we really won't know. Well, we've discussed that internally, us and the school corporation, and I don't know if you guys wanted to speak to that more, just because that's kind of an ever-evolving science.
You recall that we moved the carpool down to the stadium, so things are a little bit different now because we're also under construction, particularly on the east side, all on the east side. So as far as the pickup, it's not up in this area now, it's down at the stadium.
The move to the stadium was a permanent move?
Well, I hesitate to say anything permanent, but we don't anticipate changing it anytime soon. Of course, if we felt in some way to make it better, we would. But we did not put that in temporarily because we simply felt a need to separate the cars from the buses. And so neither one of them are going to go away. So I wouldn't anticipate it to change.
Okay, thanks.
I will add, that was one of the benefits of having the roundabout at Lexington as well. There are vehicles on that side, getting them in and out a lot quicker. And the other thing that we've done, that's one of the main reasons why there's still 2 lanes along the north side of the road, and that dedicated lane into the school. That way we can still move traffic that needs to get through the school, but then also efficiently get people into where they need to be. And then the same thing with the turn lane coming out of the school. We wanted to make sure that we were able to bifurcate that traffic, get the traffic that's heading west through the roundabout efficiently so that the other vehicles would get through.
And Ms. Williams has a question by phone. You're good.
Thank you. Sorry, it's not a perfect system of listening, so I just wanted to ask a couple questions you may have addressed, but just want to get clarification. I know as a driver myself, coming through that corridor, it seems that people are going fairly fast. You know, there are a lot of children crossing and meandering about. So my understanding is that the roundabout can significantly lower the speed of the drivers coming across Main Street. Is that correct, Mr. Kashman?
Yes, that is correct, and that was again, one of our main goals of implementing the roundabouts here is the traffic calming effect.
And what is the average right now?
The average speed right now was, did you say 33 mile an hour?
Yeah, it's like the 85th percentile is what a lot of traffic engineers set speed limits off of. That was 33 miles an hour.
The 85th percentile was 33 mile an hour.
Okay, and then what would be the guesstimated average speed once these two roundabouts are completed?
That we feel like we can get down to that 25 miles an hour range that.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Down to the 25 mile an hour range.
Okay, and does 25 miles an hour less significantly decrease the severity of any accidents that could possibly occur?
Yes, whenever there's any kind of vehicular collision, obviously if you're driving slower, it's a lot less than, so that's, I know you're not here, but we can share with you the image I showed earlier that kind of showed range of speed with vehicles and pedestrians.
Yeah, we had a slide that showed the effects of the lowering of speed on accidents and fatalities, so we can make sure we get that to you.
Okay, great, thank you very much.
Any other questions, Jennifer?
No, I think that's. One of the things is the blinking crosswalks. Do they, are they shown to be effective in getting drivers' attention?
Yes, they are. We've seen a very good, when they're used, we see a very good rate of vehicles slowing down. So much that once we started installing them, we started getting a lot more requests for them. They first went in kind of up at Clay Terrace. That's one of our highest pedestrian areas. And then we've also placed them in key mid-blocks and other parts of the city.
Ms. Vandenberg?
I have one other question. Coming out of the parking lot on the west side of the high school, will people, is it going to be one way going northbound when you're exiting? So one way to enter and then one way to leave?
So there'll be a single lane entering into the school property, and then there'll
Okay.
be 2 lanes exiting. The right lane will be a right turn only, and then the left lane will be a, you can go south,
Okay.
which is down, or to the left.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions from the board? Thank you, Mr. Kashman and your team, and we look forward to continuing work with you.
Thank you for all your work, and I think we've, as a city, learned a lot from this process too, so we appreciate that, and it's good to work together.
Thank you.